The former Lebanese Prime Minister has accepted the French President's invitation to come to Paris. That was confirmed by President Macron's office within the past half an hour or so. Saad Hariri sparked a political crisis in Lebanon when he flew to Saudi Arabia and abruptly resigned about a week ago. Emmanuel Macron stresses, though, that the invitation is not an offer of political exile.
I spoke with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Prime Minister Saad Hariri, and we agreed that I would invite the Prime Minister and his family to France for a few days. It is also a gesture of friendship and the willingness of France to contribute to restoring calm and stability in Lebanon.
The French side of it is very curious. I mean, it's quite a thunderbolt. What's happened just yesterday is that Mr. Macron has offered Hariri some sort of exile. They're not using the word exile, of course, but they're stressing this is an offer to him and his family to come for just a few days. That may well be a euphemism for to come here indefinitely. We just don't know. There are more questions than answers at this point. France would be the obvious country to make such an offer. You have to understand that there's a history, of course, a colonial history with France and Lebanon, but also that Hariri has had a home for a number of years in Paris. So there seems to be quite a smart move. So this all started on November the 4th when Hariri arrived in Riyadh and was initially surrounded by police and detained. He had his phones taken away from him, and he was told on that date that the Saudis were very displeased with his one-year premiership in Lebanon, where he negotiated effectively nothing. He immediately made a speech which more or less said that I'm resigning and I blame Hezbollah for that. And then just a couple of days later after that, he went on the record and did a live interview with Lebanese television saying that he would be back in Lebanon within a few days. I think that reassured a number of people in Lebanon that things could calm down. If we move on to just recently, just yesterday, the patience of the Lebanese president, Michel Aoun, snapped, and he went public and stated that this was international law being broken, and he believed the Lebanese prime minister was being detained by the Saudis. So the French have come in at an interesting moment. We don't know for sure if he will go to Paris. Reuters are citing Élysée sources who have said he will certainly be there, but there's a question mark over how long he will be. Some news agencies are using the words for a few days. Certainly, I can tell you there's enough people in Lebanon who are eagerly waiting for him to come back to Beirut and to kickstart negotiations which have not really moved forward for a whole year now with Hezbollah.
As for what's happening inside Lebanon, Middle East analyst Ziad Nassar says the government there appears to be pulling together in the face of outside pressure.
If Hariri is not there, somebody else will lead the government, and all the major players in Lebanon will still be in the government. The Saudis are trying to dictate their opinion on the Lebanese government, and today we find the Lebanese actually uniting in opposition to a dictate from outside. You know, it's a shame that Lebanon has to be forced to become a battlefield between the Saudis and the Iranians. In fact, if you really look at what the Saudis are trying to do is all their confrontations with the Iranians, whether in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, they seem to be losing these, and they're just trying to open a new front in Lebanon. And that's what the general belief amongst the Lebanese is, which is why the resignation was not accepted.